Let's jump into this Jimmy Kimmel news. He returned yesterday. This is what he had to say in response to the Charlie Kirk reaction to his original monologue.
I don't think what I have to say is going to make much of a difference. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I have no illusions about changing anyone's mind. But I do want to make something clear because it's important to me as a human, and that is you understand that it was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't. And for those who think I did point a finger, I get why you're upset. If the situation was reversed, there's a good chance I'd have felt the same way. I have many friends and family members on the other side who I love and remain close to, even though we don't agree on politics at all. I don't think the murderer who shot Charlie Kirk represents anyone. This was a sick person who believed violence was a solution, and it isn't. Ever.
Encourage people to watch the whole thing, make up your own mind, but I don't want to see him booted for any reason other than the show isn't popular or the network is like, man, you're creating too many headaches for us. We want to get you out. Whether you agree with him or disagree with him, you've got to let the business model run its course. Like if this guy has no views and there's no ratings, then it will die of its own accord. When you have people from the Trump admin like campaigning, this is hate speech, we can't have this kind of thing, man, you don't want that, because we already lived through it with Biden, with YouTube censoring people under pressure from the Biden admin. And the goal is not to use those tools more effectively against the other side. The goal is to say, this is absolutely moronic. This is not how we move forward. And then just as a reminder, and I really hope that people that are here for this show are on board with the idea that we absolutely must find a way to the middle. And if I can just remind everybody, this is an evolutionary game. Society is possible because evolution, the blind watchmaker, looked at it and went, oh, I have to balance two things. The right, who's all personal responsibility all the time, go do your thing, nothing else matters. A lot of individualism, becomes hard to get the cohesion of the group because you're just selflessly taking care of other people. And when, from an evolutionary perspective, you don't have refrigerators, you have to store calories on other people's bodies by saying, okay, I got this hunt, but you didn't. And so I'm going to share with you. But then you need the right to balance that, because the second somebody goes, oh, you're going to share with me? Word, I don't have to do shit. You'll come back, you'll feed me, and I'll be able to free ride. And it's known as a free loader problem or free rider problem. I forget. I think freeloader problem. From an evolutionary perspective, once those two things are in dynamic tension, obviously evolution wasn't thinking right and left. It's just trying. The reason that we break politically along those lines is because there's an evolutionary break along those lines in terms of personalities that the group needs. So the group needs compassion, but that can go pathological. The group needs personal responsibility, but that can go pathological. And so you want that dynamic tension. You want people that have those traits that we say thusly tend towards the left to call out for compassion. And you want the people on the right who tend towards personal responsibility, carrying your weight, that kind of thing, to call out for, we don't accept freeloaders. Like, you've got to do your part. And when you've got both sides sort of competing with each other, you get something great. I see the same thing in business. You get a CEO and you get an operator, and they tend to be very opposing personality types. And oftentimes, I have had to mediate those. Even when I'm teaching entrepreneurs in Impact Theory University, I have to teach them, like, you have to respect the other person. So if you're the operator, you have to respect the dreamer and the person that can be unreasonable and actually get things done and push things forward, and vice versa. And if you don't want that dynamic tension, you end up in a problem. Jimmy Kimmel to me is a symbol of that. I don't agree with a lot of the things that Jimmy Kimmel says. I think that late night has become far less about comedy and far more about preaching, but whatever. I want to make sure that people are allowed to say the things that they want to say. I don't want to see people censored on YouTube or traditional TV. And if traditional TV sucks and this guy has no ratings, then it should die a natural death, and just let it happen.
Trump had a response to it. This is what he truthed out. I can't believe ABC fake news gave Jimmy Kimmel his job back. The White House was told by ABC that his show was canceled. Something happened between then and now because his audience is gone and his talent was never there. Why would they want someone back who does so poorly, who's not funny, who puts the network in jeopardy by playing 99% positive Democrat garbage? He is yet another arm of the DNC, and to the best of my knowledge, that would be a major illegal campaign contribution. I think we're going to test ABC out on this. Let's see how we do. Last time I went after them, they gave me $16 million. This one sounds even more lucrative. A true bunch of losers. Let Jimmy Kimmel rot in bad ratings.
Okay, this is exactly the kind of thing that I'm saying we don't want. If Trump were a citizen and he were saying that and saying, look, the ABC is given governmental funding or free airwaves, I forget the exact mechanism, but for that, they're supposed to present balanced coverage. Okay, does Jimmy Kimmel present balanced coverage? Absolutely not. Does the network as a whole present balanced coverage? Probably not. I don't watch enough of it, but I am willing to bet that they don't. Fine. If we want to say, listen, this whole thing is stupid, whether you're on the right or the left, everything is breaking along partisan lines. Nobody is getting a fair shot. None of this is balanced. And so we're going to just auction off those airwaves. And all of these guys in the age of social media, in the age of the internet, they can find another way to get to people. And they will. And go for it. That I would get. But when you start singling out a show and saying, essentially, we're going to sue you as the president of the United States, dude, this is people who don't value free speech. They say they value free speech, but in reality, they're engaging in a war of partisan hackery, quite frankly, but they're battling for narrative control. If I were Trump and as the president, I would say exactly the following. It's clear that it's completely broken down that the airwaves are no longer something that taxpayers should be paying for. So I think everybody, right, left, center, doesn't matter. Nobody should be getting this for free anymore. We've obviously gone down a path where balance is not what we prize.
And we already cut funding to PBS, NPR, so he's already getting out that game.
Pull all of that. We're in the internet age. Everything is different. And by the way, thank the Lord that there are so many incredible voices on the right, from his perspective, on my team, that exist on the internet. And so this information is getting out there. Great. The thing that drives me crazy about the sort of unified voice on the right when it comes to this stuff is they act as if they don't have a voice. They act as if somehow mainstream media is ever going to change. And what they want them to do is like a mea culpa, like, oh my God, I can't believe that we've been propagandistic. It's like everybody is propaganda. The right is propaganda. The left is propaganda. And so I don't know. It just seems it's so theatrical and so pointless. We're in a hyper-populist moment. Everybody is trapped in a frame of reference. Everybody is going to give you their take from their side instead of like banging pots and pans and saying like they should be saying XYZ thing. Dismantle their argument. Take their arguments apart. Win people over because your ideas are tethered to reality. And if your ideas aren't tethered to reality, they should lose in the public marketplace. But that isn't the game that we decide to play. And listen, I've got more beef with the way that the Biden administration handled this because it was so surreptitious, so behind the scenes, so pervasive, because online is far more important than traditional legacy TV. They're both terrible. They're both anti-free speech. They both need to stop. But if you want to talk about which one scares me more, the silent behind the scenes censoring of people and being like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Trump, for all the lunacy in this tweet, at least he does it out in the open so that I can hate it publicly.
I felt like that was like, you had that one like built up, like
okay, so
I hated it publicly.
For people to, when you guys see the deep dive that I wrote for Monday, which I hope that you guys will watch. And thank you, by the way. The deep dives continue to be our best performing content. You guys are amazing. I appreciate the trust that you give them a shot. The deep dive coming out this Monday, I'm really trying to figure out what the foundational building blocks are that put us at risk for culture falling apart, our country falling apart. Everybody knows my beef on economics. While I mention it in the video, I don't go into a ton of detail. But one of the things that I haven't talked a lot about is freedom of speech. And so I talk a fair amount about freedom of speech. I really do consider it one of the core bricks in this. And so getting this wrong is lunacy. And America has been the shining city on a hill precisely because the result the results that we've been able to deliver as a nation are largely due to the scientific method. The scientific method in public discourse, the scientific method in the construction of our government, the scientific method in businesses, in science. Once you make freedom of speech impossible, you make the scientific method impossible. I don't talk about it that way in the deep dive, but you get my underlying thoughts.